unique.
Phil Mafah is a powerful running back from Clemson University who was one of the faces for the Tigers this past season. His main strengths are his physical running style and smart decision-making on the field. A former 4-star recruit coming out of high school who was ranked as the 11th best running back in the country, who had a ton of offers but decided to go with Clemson, making his first full season start as RB1, having 216 carries, 1,115 yards rushing, and scoring 8 touchdowns for the Tigers and really making a difference. Standing at 6'1" and 234 pounds, he is a freight train of an athlete. Dishing out punishment and getting busy against the opposition. He is one of the players that can not only run in between the tackles, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield if need be, something that scouts love to see from a running back. A shoulder injury before the regular season eventually forced him to miss the rest of the college football playoff game against Texas after just 2 carries. Because of this injury, he couldn't participate in the NFL Combine or Pro Day workouts, which likely led him being picked late in the 7th round. But joining the Dallas Cowboys gives him a great chance to succeed.
It's a privilege, just to be a part and have the opportunity to be a part of this organization, especially great names like those. It just tells myself that, I'm here for a purpose, and it just allows me to set a vision on what I want my career to look like. But it's definitely, a dream come true, and looking at those names is definitely motivation to want to have my name up there too.
Many running backs who were drafted late turn out to be hidden gems, and I believe Mafah could be one of them. So let's take a closer look and see what this player could bring to the Dallas Cowboys. So on this play here, with a player like Mafah and being 234 pounds, he has the physicality to deliver a big blow, punishing second and third level defenders, showing excellent power running ability as he decisively squares up and completely demolishes the defender with a devastating collision. And when you are a player with this size and have a punishing north-south running style, it makes this player intimidating when he's running in between the tackles. And we love to see this when it comes down to Phil Mafah. So activating the system. So zooming in on Phil Mafah, on this rep here, they're giving him a delayed handoff, finding a quick way to contort his body, open those hips, and slice into the open field. And being a player that's 234 pounds, with those linebackers and those safeties, you do not want to see him coming straight at you. Dipping it low and delivering a big blow. Completely flatlining that linebacker. And these are the things here that you love to see from this player. Somebody call the police, Phil Mafah just caught a body. And when you do have a physical player like this that can punish you in the first and second quarter, with these defenses in the NFL, they tend to lighten up in the third and fourth quarter. And what that does is that brings the best out of a guy like Dak Prescott. You can run play action and it will keep the whole playbook open. And a good thing about this player, he's strong, he's well built, and he has what it takes to take on a workload, consistently falling forward and wearing a lot of these defenses down. So great play by Phil Mafah, getting out into the open field and making a statement against this defense. While Mafah isn't the fastest running back and can get caught from behind in the open field, he has enough speed to capture the edge and get there before defenders do. In football, every yard is important, Cowboys Nation, and it's impressive to see that he can beat defenders to the edge despite not being a speed player. So we'll go ahead and split it. So looking at this play here, he's getting a draw play again, reading off of his left tackle that's pulling to the right, and Mafah bounces it to the outside. Just seeing this player using his speed to be able to capture the edge, slashing inside, and quickly scoring a touchdown. And when you're playing that running back position, it's not always about being the fastest guy. Do you have a high IQ? Do you have good vision? Finding ways to be able to put yourself in the right position to be effective. And there are a ton of running backs that's in the NFL now. They are not the fastest guy, but they have the ability to be able to capture the edge quickly and stress out these defenses. But with this player being 9th all-time in Clemson history with 2,887 yards says a lot about this player. On top of being a captain this past year and being a leader on and off the field. And we all know with this coaching staff, they want to find those great character guys, somebody that you can count on when it matters most. And with Phil Mafah, he was definitely one of those guys. So another great play by him, using enough speed to capture that edge, slash inside, and score an easy touchdown. One of my favorite skill sets from Phil Mafah is his patience. This honestly sets him apart as one of the most disciplined running backs in his draft class. His ability to read blocks and wait for plays to develop is amazing, especially with his physical play style, because sometimes with these bigger running backs, they can be on go. But it's good to see him allowing the offensive linemen to establish their blocks and create running lanes. So we'll go ahead running. So looking at this play here, just watching that left tackle and that left guard, they're pulling to the right again. But just seeing the patience from Mafah, downloading the defense, stepping up, and planting that right foot. And the thing is with this player, that is one of his signature moves right there by studying this guy, planting that right foot, and getting himself into position. So he plants again. Next thing you know, it gives him an open opportunity to get even more yards. And to be a successful running back in the NFL, you have to be extremely patient. A lot of these players that's 234 pounds, they're overly aggressive, but that is not the case when it comes down to Phil Mafah. He has a great understanding on what the offensive line is doing, especially when the offensive line is running pin pull type of techniques. He knows how to get himself in the right position to be successful on some of these reps. But as far as him planting that foot on the ground, he doesn't pack a lot of jukes, but with that hard plant, with that right foot, he has that ability to make people miss from time to time. But seeing him showing patience on this play and allowing the offensive lineman to get to their spot was good to see from Mafah. Here's a play here where he's going up against Maris Leofau, a promising young linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. You'll see him shuffle inside the gridiron too quickly, getting out of position. And with Phil Mafah, he reads it and uses a quick hop step and was off to the races. And by watching this player's film, I saw a lot of reps where he was using that quick hop step, and this was definitely one of the better tools in his arsenal. So we'll go ahead and spin it. So locking on this play here, just watching Leofau, he's shuffling to the right. Next thing you know, Phil Mafah gets the ball, uses that quick hop step, and gets quickly into position. And you see with Maurice Leofau, he is a very athletic player, but sometimes when you're overly aggressive and you're not in good position, with Phil Mafah, if you do make that mistake, he has enough speed to get this thing rolling, burning the defense and scoring a nice touchdown. When it comes down to the game of football and when you're playing that running back position, every movement matters. That can be the biggest difference when it comes down to some of these plays. Being a one-cut runner slashing inside, the patience, the hop steps, this is what you get when it comes down to a player in Phil Mafah. And this is all you could ask for when it comes down to a 7th-round running back, showing on film that you have a knack for ripping off chunk plays, pressing the line of scrimmage, and getting it done. Here's a play where Mafah shows he does have the ability to catch the ball, displaying soft hands and getting a nice gain. So locking on this play here, you see that he's storming out into the flats. We will see a ton of that when it comes down to the Cowboys offense this year, finding ways to get these runners in the perimeter and get busy. But zooming in more and seeing Mafah winding up and serving a nice hurdle move. And that's the same thing that we used to see a lot from Ezekiel Elliott, but you got to be careful because you do not want to get blasted. But it's great to see him using that athleticism and getting those dirty yards. And as far as catching the ball, he's not going to be one of those route runners like a Jadon Blue. But if you can be able to use this guy on screen plays, quick out routes, dump offs, this is how this player will be able to make his money. And I do think that if he's paired with a good running back, it'll just bring the best out of him. Mostly being used on 1st and 2nd down and on 3rd down if need be. But this player is going to have to go out there and grind and prove that he's going to make some noise. And having Javonte Williams there, Miles Sanders, Jadon Blue, competition is going to be ramped up for sure. The good thing about a player in Mafah is that he has the ability to run in gap schemes because of his physicality and zone schemes because of his patience. Not only that, he's slippery enough to get into position and gain more yards. You like to see the grit and ability to evade defenders on this play here. So let's run it. So locking on this play here, they're running out of the shotgun again. With this offense here, they love pulling guards and tackles on that backside, keeping these players on the move. But you see the patience from Mafah again, cutting inside, getting into open field, and quickly contorting his body. This is what matters when it comes down to that running back position. Moving his body like that can be able to put him in position to gain more yards. Now you see that he does not have that game-breaking speed like a Jadon Blue. He does get hawked from the back a lot, but having that thick frame, he has that ability to be able to break tackles and get a few more extra yards. And with me, when I see a player that can rip off a chunk play like this, it keeps everything flowing. It's not always about burning everybody and scoring a touchdown, but can you be a player that can make things easier for CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, as well as George Pickens? So once we get to training camp and preseason, I'm going to be looking to see if he can display that patience and that vision that he's shown in college. Because if he does, that's how he can be able to separate himself in year one. So another great play by Phil Mafah, getting into open field. He did get hawked from behind, but still making a big time play. Here's a play where you see him slicing and dicing, breaking tackles, and stressing out the defense. This is a play where he attempts to juke, but it is a little stiff. But showing the ability to hop step again, digging that foot into the ground was great to see by Mafah. So let's run it. So locking on this play here, he's reading off of that pulling guard, slashing inside again and breaking those arm tackles, and slamming that right foot into the ground. And the film never lies. That's how this player makes a lot of these defenders miss, is when he can be able to quickly give him that one cut. So he's still breaking more arm tackles, goes up against this last guy here and gives the most stiffest juke that I have seen on film this year. Now he can make people miss from time to time with those quick cuts, but as far as those elite jukes and making plays out of nothing, you're not going to get that from this kind of player. That is plays that we'll see from players like Jadon Blue, because with Blue, he has that ability to be able to make something out of nothing, and it all comes down to his athleticism. But this was still a great play by Phil Mafah for sure. When going up against Phil Mafah, you have to get down a good technique when tackling him. Those arm tackles will not work. You'll see Maris Leofau close in and attempt to bring him down using an arm tackle. Mafah breaks away from it, and not only that, gives a punishing blow to the cornerback. And when you do have physicality like this, it sets the tone for the offense, defense, and special teams. So we'll go ahead and run it. So locking on Phil Mafah and Maurice Leofau, you see with Leofau, he steps up, knows that Mafah's trying to break to the outside, and misses with an arm tackle. And as he does this, the other defender tries to step up, but Mafah gets low and trucks him. And it's actually good to see him going up against a player like Leofau, because once they get to training camp, I'm sure with the second team, you will see him lining up and going up against Leofau. But with his size, you have to be prepared to be able to tackle this player with good technique, because if not, he will find ways to break through, and that could possibly end up being a back-breaking play. One issue I do see from Mafah from time to time is his decision-making when he breaks through and gets to the open field. It's not like this all the time. He does show good vision on certain plays, but this is something that he can clean up at the next level for sure. So let's run it. So locking on this play here, the center, he climbs to the second level and attacks Maurice Leofau, walling him off and keeping him away from getting to Mafah. So Mafah steps up, slashes inside, and gets into position. But what's crazy is if he uses his vision, all he had to do was bounce it to the outside and he could have completely scored a touchdown. So he decided to keep it inside and ended up missing a big opportunity. And with these running backs in the NFL, when you do have a player that's 234 pounds, sometimes they just want to be physical, not even being aware that they could have had a big time play. And it kind of reminds me of Marion Barber, where he just wanted to be physical on certain reps and just set the tone. But you got to use your eyes at all times, because that might end up being the biggest difference when it comes down to these games, completely shifting momentum. Another thing that he needs to work on is his blocking. He has the size, but sometimes you'll see him let up when it comes down to engaging with defenders. And you don't want things like this happening, because it can get your quarterback hurt. He had a shoulder injury at the beginning of last year that was lingering all season. So that was probably the reason why. So we'll go ahead and run it. So locking on this play here, he sees that blitzing corner. He steps up, engages with him with his hands inside, but completely bounces off of him. And usually when you do get your hands inside, you're the guy that can be able to have that leverage to be able to control these players. But it seemed as though he let up, allowing that defender to be able to touch his quarterback. He didn't get the sack, but you do not want things like this to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out as far as his blocking. There were a lot of times that I saw on film where he was undercutting a lot of these blitzers. I don't know if it was the shoulder injury, but it's something that we're going to have to pay attention to once they get to training camp. Because if this player is going to get burned on the field, Not only does he have to be a good runner and make big time plays, but you have to be a good blocker. You have to catch the ball on top of being a good blocker to be able to protect the quarterback. And playing against these big time players in the NFL, they are very strong, so he's going to have to be ready to roll. So on this final play here, you'll see him crashing into the pulling blocker, but still stay patient, allowing the offensive lineman to get into his spot. Mafah reads it and takes off. If he can make these plays come preseason Cowboys Nation, he might be turning some heads for sure, but it's all about stacking his days together. So let's run it. So running this play here, you see with that right tackle, he's pulling and he presses right into Mafah. But with Mafah, he was still patient, waiting for the play to develop and finding another crease in the defense and shooting off for a 35-yard touchdown. And being a running back who has played in 50 career games at Clemson with 21 starts, you had 28 total touchdowns, you had 58 receptions for 309 yards. This player has put in a lot of work. It's not always about where a team picks you. Can you be a player that can take that next step once you get to the NFL? You see players like Kyron Williams being drafted in the 4th round. Austin Eckler wasn't even drafted. Alfred Morris was a 6th-round pick years ago, and we've seen the damage that he did in his first year. There is talent at the running back position throughout the entire draft, but you got to do your homework and find out what these players could do. But locking in and staying focused is going to be everything when it comes down to Mafah. So it's going to be good to see how it all plays out at the running back position come training camp. Hopefully guys like Javonte Williams can be able to step up. I truly believe Jadon Blue is going to be making a lot of big time plays, but with Phil Mafah, he's one of the running backs that's going to be at the bottom of the depth chart, but he's going to have to turn up early on. He has that ability to make big time plays, so he's going to have to get this thing rolling. So comment below and let me know what you guys think about Phil Mafah and who else do y'all want to see me break down just like this video. So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you don't hit it, you'll miss on fire updates and the best football film sessions on YouTube. All right, football family, talk to y'all soon. Gone.